As Pakistan races to protect two more towns, the United Nations says it requires more money to help the flood victims in Pakistan. Here is a brief look at the latest news from Pakistan.
The United Nations says it needs hundreds of millions of dollars in new donation to get food, water, medicine and shelter to Pakistanis hit by flooding. The UN is preparing to ask member nations to give an amount that will be at least double the 460 million it requested last month at the start of the flooding, said Jean-Maurice Ripert, the UN Secretary-General's Special Envoy for Assistance to Pakistan. The UN has received 310 million towards the initial appeal, although private and bilateral donations bring the global total committed for Pakistan flood aid to roughly $1.1 billion. Some 8 million to 10 million people remain in need of some sort of daily assistance out of a total of 18.7 million affected by the flooding, Ripert said. In the meantime, Pakistani authorities were racing to protect two southern towns and their 360,000 residents from surging floods as the nation struggles to cope with its worst natural disaster in living memory. A month and a half after monsoon caused devastating floods throughout the country, submerging an area the size of England, 8 million people remain dependent on handouts for their survival, which many say are too slow coming. Advancing floodwaters continue to threaten towns in Sindh province, where 19 of its 23 districts have been delugged, displacing more than 2.8 million people, according to provincial authorities. Several 100,000 more people have been forced to flee towns and villages in Pakistan's southern Sindh province amid fresh flooding. Water is gushing towards Dadu district after a breach in the Turi Dam in the north of the already flood-hit region.
As the disastrous floods recede in Pakistan, something new is rising. Suspicion and rumors that powerful officials and landowners use their influence to divert water from their property and inundate the villages and fields of millions of poor Pakistanis. Claims are difficult to verify and in some cases may be exaggerated. Yet they have spread like wildfire across the waterlogged countryside, further outraging many flood victims already upset that the government's failure to provide enough food, clean water and shelter. One of the risks is that fighters could seize on growing anger to increase support for their war against the state. Even before the floods, many Pakistanis harbored a deep mistrust towards their government and the land-owning elite. China is checking the qualifications of all its commercial pilots after it emerged that more than 200 of them lied about their experience. The revelation follows an investigation by last year by the Civil Aviation Administration of China. Half of the pilots worked for parent company of an airline involved in a recent fatal plane crash. Shenzhen Airlines is the parent company of Hainan Airlines, whose aircraft crashed last month, killing 42 people. 54 passengers and crew survived the crash, in which the plane missed the runway. Between 2008 and 2009, the employment histories of more than 200 Chinese commercial pilots were found to have been falsified, with some of them embellishing their flying histories. Greek Prime Minister George Papandreou reshuffled his cabinet early Tuesday in an effort to tackle the country's debt crisis. Government spokesman Georgios Petalos made the announcement, saying that the new ministers will take over the Labour, Economy, Health and Agriculture ministries. Finance Minister Georgios Papakonstantinou, who is at the centre of the negotiations between the European Union and International Monetary Fund in exchange for a €110 billion bailout programme, will remain unchanged. Papandreou, who won elections less than a year ago, made the changes in an effort to boost competitiveness and economic growth, as well as deal with problem areas such as social security and public health.